Republican Ohio Senate candidate JD Vance is calling for a ban on porn. And look, one of the only reasons why I think this is an important story to cover is while Republicans consistently try to rebrand themselves as anything other than conservative dorks, fact of the matter is they ain't got nothing to offer you other than their social conservatism, and this is a perfect example of that. No economic solutions, more bootstraps when it comes to those issues. But they want to make sure that you're not watching pornography because as JD Vance and other Republicans believe, it is a real public health issue. Not COVID, not all the guns and shootings that we're all dealing with. Those aren't public health, not public health issues at all. No. Pornography, okay? Spanking the salami is the real public health crisis that we need to be focusing on.
Chafing is an issue.
It could be, You need to moisturize, you need to be careful, but that's not what JD Vance is talking about here. This was in the context of an interview that he did last year, but it's being resurfaced now. And again, I think it's important to emphasize that this is really what conservative candidates and lawmakers are really about. He told Crisis Magazine, which is apparently some religious magazine, I think the combination of porn, abortion, have basically created a lonely, isolated generation that isn't getting married, they're not having families, and they're actually not even totally sure how to interact with each other. Okay, and apparently Americans are getting married less frequently and having fewer children, he said. And we know that at least one cause of this is that we have allowed, under the banner of libertarianism, pornography to seep even into our youngest minds through the channels of the internet. Again, we made a political choice and the freedom to consume pornography was more important than the public goods like marriage and family and happiness.
I do remember when we had the debate as a nation and we were like, well, on the one hand, the porn, on the other hand, happiness. I really like the porn.
You know what's also a public good? Life, living, being able to live, right? But that's kind of hard to do when kids get gunned down in their own classrooms, and then you have Republican lawmakers and Republican candidates like JD Vance jumping in immediately to provide cover for gun manufacturers rather than the people who were victimized by those shootings. We'll get to that later. But John, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people aren't having kids because we live in a country that provides zero support for families.
I think in theory they might want to have kids, but all the guys are just perpetually bone dry from all the jacking off that they're doing from all this porn. It's like they look at their wife and they think, I wish I could make it happen, but I got nothing left. It's like an empty tube of toothpaste, and he is gonna fix it by getting rid of all the porn. Porn has been around forever, man. It's been around forever. It's better in many ways than it used to be, but it's been around forever. No, I agree with you about.
It's better? How is it better?
It's higher definition. I don't know.
Okay, well, I mean, it's easier to access.
Look, there's still issues, but I think some of the profit models are a little bit more equitable to the people who are actually creating it.
Fair.
I think there's some aspects of that. The decentralization of it, I think, can be good. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done. But
and if you are a parent who's concerned about your children accessing porn, you could do something. Here's a novel idea. You can parent and make sure that your kids aren't accessing porn on your computer inside your home. But I guess that would be too difficult, and so now we have to violate the First Amendment rights of this industry by banning porn, which, by the way, ain't gonna happen. It's never gonna happen. It's nonsense. It's another nothing burger issue that social conservatives, social conservative politicians love to point to because they got nothing else to offer you.
Well, yeah, and also look, I think we have a few things that most of us might point to and say that's pornography, that's designed to turn you on, but you can't just ban everything. Lots of different people are attracted to lots of different things. I mean, Tucker Carlson used to have the green M&M. He's not turned on by it anymore, but for a while it got the job done. Were you going to ban the M&M's mascots?
I mean, are you gonna ban like Victoria's Secret catalogs?
Maybe it's titillating. If Ben Shapiro ever sees it, he doesn't have a big problem with it. And so what? I'm not even. I can only think JP Mandel now when I think of his name. What's his real name? Josh
JD
Mandel.
Vance.
JD Vance. Josh Mandel's the other one. They're basically the same thing. They're both dorks. What he wants is for all of these things either by the social media platforms, the website hosts, or the government for them to go in and ban all of this stuff. So if you are like organizing for an insurrection, that can't be banned because that's a violation of your free speech and it's cancel culture. But if you've got a boobie, then that should of course be banned by the government. That is the cancel culture that they want. How dare you show your ass or whatever. And in the meantime, they're showing their ass. They're a bunch of dorks. The issue is, of course, that we can laugh about this and we will laugh about this, but many people new to the experience of dealing with fascism don't know that fascism has always been lame. It's trying to appeal to lame, unhappy people. And when they start talking about the need for greater purity and everything, that is always a bad road. Getting rid of porn is very commonly a part of it, actually.
Well, and the other thing that I'll say is, I do agree. The one thing that I do agree with Vance on, although his conclusions are ridiculous and I don't agree with him on that, is that people are feeling lonely. Young men are feeling isolated. People are experiencing a pretty overwhelming sense of despair in this country. And we do see it manifested in incredibly violent ways, certainly with some of these young men carrying out mass shootings, not providing any kind of excuse or cover for them. What they do is terrible and they shouldn't have access to the kinds of weapons they do. But that point is accurate. However, I shouldn't say we, right-wingers don't actually look at the real causes of that and they don't propose real solutions for it. So listen, people roll their eyes when I say stuff like this, but it's how I feel and you can take it however you'd like. Every time there is a school shooting in this country, I sit back and I think to myself, thank God I didn't have kids. This is why I don't wanna have kids. I don't wanna deal with that fear every day after I drop my kids off at school because I know our elected lawmakers don't care about them, don't care about protecting them. They don't care about doing the bare minimum to keep them safe, okay? When I think about what we're doing to the planet, how it's gonna be impossible to live on it, that makes me not wanna have kids. But aside from that, okay, there's also, and I would argue that this is a bigger part of the problem and why people are persuaded against having kids, there's no economic support for families. None, zero. No mandatory paid family leave, no affordable childcare. If you have a child and you need to work to provide for that child, how do you do it if you can't afford childcare? But these are not issues that are ever brought up or addressed by massive social conservative dorks like JD Vance, who's like, I think it's pornography. By the way, let's talk about where most of the pornography is consumed in America. Oh right, it's the Bible Belt, okay? Places like Ohio, by the way, have pretty high pornography consumption. No hate, I'm just saying, if you're worried about this, maybe take a look inward. Why is it that these red states, why is it that the most conservative states in the country seem to have an overwhelming obsession with consuming porn? So let me give you a few examples. There was one study published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior in 2015. They said, the researchers for this study wrote in the abstract, we examined associations between state level religiosity, conservatism, and anonymous interest in searching for sexual content online using Google Trends, which calculates within state search volumes for search terms. Across 2 separate years, and controlling for demographic variables, we observed moderate to large positive associations between 1, greater proportions of state level religiosity and general web searching for sexual content, meaning porn of course, and 2, greater proportions of state level conservatism and image specific searching for sex. Pornhub also conducted its own studies into this multiple years in a row. Here's one example. The states with the highest percentage of gay views is in the South. According to the numbers, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Georgia led the South in gay porn consumption, and the state with the highest percentage of gay porn viewers in the nation is Mississippi at 5.6%. I don't think there's anything wrong with gay porn. I just think it's fascinating that the states that contain the most people who tut-tut about porn all day tend to be the states that watch the most porn.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think there's anything wrong with watching the porn, but I also don't think banning porn is the solution for the very real issues Americans are facing today and the very real difficulties people have in establishing families in a country that provides no support for them whatsoever.
Yeah, and by the way, like there's a couple of different issues here, but the idea that porn is destroying people and we don't as a society know how to have relationships anymore, associate with each other. Well, which is the political ideologies that's trying to like batter down everyone's self-expression, their discovery of who they are, what their gender is, what their orientation is. We want that to be an open thing that people can talk about, perhaps come together around, learn about themselves.
Right.
They don't want that. They want that to be like, just knock that all out. Don't talk about it, don't think about it. Oh, you'll be totally well adjusted. You'll be totally fine after that. And you can go off and have a happy family that you won't regret entering into and all that. It's a terrible idea. He's not the first to think of it. Ted Cruz has talked about banning porn.
Josh Hawley.
Exactly. Ted Cruz like types up a bit of legislation to ban it, and then he goes back to his tab of his MILF, like voyeurism porn.
Yeah, that he accidentally liked on Twitter.
Exactly. Everybody fears it. It happened to him. He was the one. But anyway, it's BS. All of these guys consume porn, not because they're conservative, but because they're humans and humans like pornography.
Bingo.